For the past year and a half or so, Crimson Desert has been on my radar. Initially, I had the I'll believe it when I see it mindset. Seeing a game like that in today's Unreal Engine landscape, I became very skeptical. Well, now we're just days away before its release, and although I obviously haven't been hands-on with it, I have consumed just about as much content as I possibly can on it. And after all of my own speculation, feature overview videos from Pluribus themselves, and the first-hand accounts from creators who spent hours with the game, I've landed on the side of cautious optimism with a big helping of pure intrigue. There is just so much in this game. Whether I end up thinking it's an all-time masterpiece or just an average experience, I don't know, but Pluribus is trying to do so much with this game and I simply have to see what it's all about. In this video, I just want to talk about a few things that make me most excited for the game, and it's a very, very big game, so let's just get right into it. My favorite game from last year, and now one of my favorite games of all time, was Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. One of the main reasons for that was the lack of hand-holding present in the game. Whether the mission was to save a kidnapped human, or you were simply trying to find your way into a building without being detected, the game gave you free reign to succeed in your goal in any way you saw fit. Based on everything we've heard from creators that were at the event held by Pluribus a few weeks ago, Crimson Desert is the exact same way, if not more hands-off. This is obviously something that will be very divisive for players, but many of my favorite games exist under the premise of, here's our world, go have fun. Crimson Desert's world seems to be one full of enough side content, systems, and environments to explore to last me dozens of hours. Well, I mentioned systems a moment ago, but I want to go deeper into those as well as some of the side activities I'm especially interested in. In Crimson Desert, you play as Cliff, a member of the Greymanes, a faction that has their camp destroyed by some real devilish bad guys, and you spend the game reuniting your fellow Greymane. When reunited, you can find them back at your camp, and this camp seems to be fully customizable. In the feature overview videos, they show furniture being rearranged. There's a moment where Cliff is pushing wagons of supplies into place, hammering tarps down, and there's also a ranch at your camp where you can grow crops, and even be a ranch hand handling all the animals. As someone who was a massive Red Dead Online fan, one of the most wished-for DLCs that I had that could have possibly been added to that game was a ranching DLC. So this, along with all the other camp management mechanics, have me wildly intrigued. The combat system looks like one of the most in-depth we've ever gotten in an open world game like this, both due to the actual system itself, with all the different kinds of weapons, martial arts, and skill trees that have been shown, but also due to the controls that have been noted as one of the aspects of Crimson Desert that will likely divide a lot of people. The basics of it boil down to R1 for light attack and R2 for heavy attack, but according to literally every single preview I've watched, it gets complicated almost like a fighting game the further you get into the game. It's not a one-to-one comparison, but with all the buttons you'll be pressing, it is slightly reminiscent. To make it even more complicated, there's also two other playable characters that you can do a bunch of side content with, and they also have their own abilities as well. I expect to struggle mightily in combat for at least the first few hours, but I'm honestly quite excited for that. Typically when I struggle with combat systems these days, it's in a Souls-like type of game, so to be able to actually struggle with a combat system that's more action-focused and fast-paced will be a lot of fun. And speaking of struggling, there are a lot of puzzles in this game. I'm not a huge puzzle guy, which is another way of me saying that I'm really fucking stupid. I've never been very good at them, but in the spirit of challenging myself and trying to truly experience everything this game has to offer, I'm going to throw myself fully into it and just try my best, no guides. We'll see what happens. I'm also just really excited for the open world activities that have been shown. I'm a sucker for any kind of fishing mechanic, so I'll be doing a ton of that if there's even a shred of depth to it. I would kill for there to be an actual way to tell when a fish you catch is really rare. That would be awesome. There's horse racing, target practice, you can fly a damn hot air balloon. There is just so much packed into this world, I struggle to see how this game will leave me bored for even a moment. According to literally everyone that has played the game, going into Crimson Desert expecting some sort of narrative masterpiece is not the right thing to do. For me, this isn't really a big issue. Is a good story nice? Of course it is. But it's almost never mandatory for me to enjoy this kind of game that Crimson Desert is clearly aiming to be, which is more in line with Dragon's Dogma 2 or Breath of the Wild than it is The Witcher 3 or Red Dead Redemption 2. Saying that though, There is a story to follow at the very least, so I'll try my best to keep up with that, but to be totally honest, the thing about the story that intrigues me the most, and this goes for both main and side quests, is the voice acting. Cliff is played by Alec Newman, who was Adam Smasher in Cyberpunk. Unka, one of the other playable characters, is played by Stuart Scudamore, who is Calgar in Space Marine 2. And Damien, or Damian, whichever one, the last of the playable characters, is played by Rebecca Hansen, who was Eve in Stellar Blade, and various other characters in Baldur's Gate 3. Admittedly, I haven't played all those games, but there are major names, so I have no doubt there will be some great cutscenes in Crimson Desert. I can say that based on those names and the few cutscenes we've seen alone. Saying that though, the story outside of reuniting with all of your group members does sound somewhat intriguing. There's another realm called the Abyss, and somehow it has to do with the fabric of reality being at stake. It does sound cool, but if it fails to reach further than you must save the day, then it will be mostly forgettable, which is kind of what I'm expecting anyways at this point. One of the major concerns that many people, including me, had when Crimson Desert was starting to become a mainstay at showcase events like State of Play and the Game Awards was how the hell is a game of this size and detail going to run on anything other than a supercomputer? To Prolibus's credit, they've been very, very open about the performance of the game on PC, and although it is quite close to launch, they have finally released full console performance expectations as well. And on all platforms except Xbox, it seems to run really, really well. To be clear, we haven't seen Xbox footage, but just based on the metrics alone, it's clear that it runs at least noticeably worse on the Xbox. I don't have a monster PC by any means, but after doing some slight research throughout the past few weeks, I think I'll be able to average around 60 FPS at 1080p, and honestly, I don't need more than that. So, what do you know? Actual transparency from a studio about their game's performance actually led me to being more excited for their game. Who would have thunk? Crimson Desert clearly has a ton of potential. I'd be lying if I told you that the thoughts coming out of the creator events a few weeks ago hadn't cooled me off slightly. I had a video for Crimson Desert that I was working on a few weeks ago, and in it, I said that this game has the chance to be one of the best games ever made if they hit on all cylinders. And while I do believe in some aspects that the game has a chance to be an all-timer in terms of adventure and pure fun that can be derived from that, I have cooled on it being a true all-around all-timer. That doesn't stop me from being extremely excited though. Vacation time has been booked so I can give my full, undivided attention to this game and really see what it's about. I'm sure I'm going to have a lot to say, so make sure to subscribe to keep up with anything and everything Crimson Desert, as well as all the other content about video games and the industry I have planned. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.